we often don't stop to think and to deconstruct the events that happen in our life and business, and we just kind of get on with it and we say, well, that was a challenge, that was a win, great, and we just kind of move on. The problem with that is we're not really learning. And in my experience, most things where we spot patterns like, we have to keep firing people, or we keep losing a client, there is usually an unconscious strategy that we are using to get those results. So I'm going to walk you through a process that I do with my clients every 90 days, which really helps them to get some clarity and some momentum in their business. So the first thing that we're going to look at is what went well. If you're always focusing on the things that aren't going well in your business, that's kind of going to be more of the energy and the things that you attract. The next step is we're almost in the last quarter of the year. I don't know about you, but that feels quite scary to me. This year has gone quickly, like a lot of years as we start to get older. And sometimes we can be happy with our progress. Sometimes we can feel a little bit behind. But one thing I find is that reflecting on the year before the year has actually come to an end is a really valuable exercise. So in this episode of the Creative Courage podcast, I'd like to run you through a process that I do with my clients every 90 days. And it's basically a way to get clarity on what things are working in the business, what things aren't working, and more importantly, what do we actually do about it? If you're new here, the Creative Courage podcast is all about building a creative business that gives you more freedom, more fulfillment, and more financial stability. And we talk about everything from the mindset that you need to have when you're running a creative business, all the way through to the strategy and the tactics. But the overarching theme is this idea of courage, the decisions that we need to make on a daily basis that require courage, the decisions that are going to grow our business and grow us as a person rather than keep us stagnant. And this process is a little bit of an introspective process, but often brings up some decisions and some ideas that have kind of been on our mind for a while and that we've been aware of, but we haven't had the courage to actually do. And so I'm going to walk you through the process. So as long as you're not driving or anything, if you are, then maybe just kind of make some mental notes and come back to this process later. But I'm going to walk you through a process that I do with my clients every 90 days, which really helps them to get some clarity and some momentum in their business. So the first thing that we're going to look at is we're going to look at what can we celebrate, like what went well over the last 90 days in our business. And these can be little things, these can be big things. It could be a project that you worked on or that you won. It could be just the fact that you have installed a new process or a system in your business. It could be that you've been more consistent on social media with content output. Like, it doesn't have to be huge. It's just really important to acknowledge the things that are going well. And that's for two reasons. The first reason is that we want to figure out how to get more of those things. And the second reason is that you get more of what you focus on anyway. So if you're always focusing on the things that aren't going well in your business, then that's kind of going to be more of the energy and the things that you attract. Whereas if you focus on the things that are going well and that you celebrate, then your brain naturally gravitates towards more of those things. So the first thing I get my clients to do is literally just spend 5 or 10 minutes. Sometimes I like to put some music on, look back through my calendar, look back through my email inbox. What were some events that happened? What were some doors that I opened? Like, what could I really celebrate? What could I really give myself permission to celebrate? And just write those things down. So that is step one. So maybe just pause the podcast here if you can. As I said, if you're not driving or doing anything dangerous, then just pause the podcast and take a second just to write some of those things down and unpause it once you've done that. So now you're left with a list of things that you can celebrate over the last 90 days, right? Or over the year. We do this every 90 days, so we're typically looking back every quarter, but you can do this for the year that's been as well. And so I want you to pick 3 to 5 of those things that you've written down that you feel really proud of and that you would like more of in your business. And I want you to ask yourself, what did you do specifically to achieve that? Now, you might not know right away because it might feel like a random event, like, oh, we just got this client through an inquiry or through a referral. In that example, it's always useful to ask clients, like, how did you find us? And what was it about the things that you saw or heard that made you want to get in touch and made you want to work with us? Like, it's really important to unpack those things so that we can replicate it and we can put some strategy behind it. Some things will be more obvious than others, but we really want to start thinking about how we created these results, because in a minute, we're going to have a list of stop, start, and continue. And this is something that I took from the 4-Hour Work Week many years ago by Tim Ferriss, and I've been doing in my business ever since. So we've got a list of things that we can celebrate. We've got a list of ways that we at least believe, like our best thinking around how we created those things, right? Now I want you to think about what are some outcomes or some things that happen in your business that were less than desirable, that you didn't really want to happen, right? So it could be that you lost a major client. It could be that you had to let a member of staff go. It could be a personal thing. It could be something that happened to you personally. Like, what are some things in your business that happened that you don't want to happen again next year? And just write those down. And then we're going to go through the exact same process. We're going to look at what were the things that we did. And again, I realize that some of these things feel random. They feel like are out of control. But I really want you to just kind of do your best to just think through this process. Like, what were some of the things that I did? So let's say it's like I had to fire a member of staff and I didn't really want to do that. Well, looking back in hindsight, what were some of the things that I did that led me to have to fire that member of staff, right? Was it that we hired them too quickly? Was it that we didn't ask them the right questions? Was it that we didn't have a long enough probation period? Was it the fact that we just had to fire them because they no longer were relevant to our business? Like, what actually happened? And just spend a little bit of time thinking about that. And the reason I'm asking you to do this, and the reason this is so important, we often don't stop to think and to deconstruct the events that happen in our life and business. And we just kind of get on with it. And we say, well, that was a challenge, that was a win, great. And we just kind of move on. The problem with that is we're not really learning. And in my experience, most things, unless they're just sporadic one-off events, most things where we spot patterns like, oh, we have to keep firing people, or oh, we keep losing a client, or oh, we don't have enough leads, or oh, we won this great project, and like things that are consistent throughout our business, there is usually a pattern, and therefore there is usually a unconscious strategy that we are using to get those results. And so one of the things that I do with my clients when I'm coaching them is I'm really just trying to pull out their unconscious strategies, good and bad, their behaviors, their decisions, their kind of, I call it their way of being. Like, how are they behaving? What is their way of being in their business? Because it's usually creating a lot of these results. And so awareness is the first step. Awareness is the key. Like, how are we creating these things? Because it's not all random, I can assure you. So by now, you should have a list of things that you can celebrate and how you believe that you achieve those. You should have a list of things that were less than desirable that you don't really want, frustrations, and how you think you created those. The next step we're going to look at is we're going to create a list of what we want to continue doing, what we want to start doing, and what we want to stop doing. And this is one of the most powerful exercises that I do in my business and that I do with our clients. And so, as I said, I took this from the 4-Hour Work Week, which is Tim Ferriss' book, was written many moons ago, but it's still as relevant today as it was back in 2008 or 9 when it was written. So based on your list, based on the things that you think you did to create the things that you want and that you did or didn't do on the list of things of undesirable outcomes, let's start first of all, what do you need to continue doing? What are the things that you're doing right now in your business that are getting you the kind of results that you want? And I just want you to list down as many things as possible. It might be going to networking events. It might be having weekly team meetings. It might be the way that you engage with your current and previous clients. Like, there's usually something that you're doing to create the kind of results that you want. Okay, so what are the things that you want to continue doing next quarter or next year? That's step one. Step two is what do you want to start doing more of? Now, sometimes this list is way too long. People are like, oh, I want to start posting on social media more. Oh, I want to start going to networking events. I want to do this. And it's like, you can't do all of those things. But for now, just brainstorm everything that comes up, and then I'll talk to you about how to filter that. So what do you want to start doing more of next quarter, next year, right? It could be taking prospecting more seriously. It could be looking into AI. Like, what is it that you think you want to start doing more of? Then the final column is what do you want to stop doing? There's going to be some stuff on that list where you think, I know I shouldn't be doing that. And it could be as simple as procrastinating, right? I need to stop procrastinating. I need to stop, wasting my mornings doing X, Y, and Z. I need to stop avoiding outreach. I need to stop. Like, what are some of those things? And just really be honest with yourself and be aware. Now, if you've got other people in your business, this is a very useful exercise to do together, right? This is something that can be really useful to do with a founder or a partner or an external consultant, somebody that can be a little bit objective and talk through these things with you. So what do you want to stop doing? So now we should have a stop, start, and continue list. Now I want you to think about the things, this is the final part of the process. I want you to think about the things that you really want to achieve next year. Like, what are some goals that you have next quarter, next year? Like, what are some things that you're like, at the end of that 90-day period, or by the end of this year, I really, really, really want to make sure that we've got this in place. We've got this new team member in place. We've got this new system that means we don't have to keep doing this thing manually. We've really got on top of lead generation, and we've got a process that we feel really confident in that's going to generate us inbound inquiries every single month, right? What is it that you actually want to achieve? So get super clear on that. And don't just say things like more revenue, more leads, more whatever. Like, be specific. How many inbound inquiries do you want every single month? Like, what do you want your revenue to be, or what do you need your revenue to be in order for you to take the kind of salary that you want from your business? The clearer you can get on the things that you want, the easier it's going to be for you to achieve those things. Our brain hates ambiguity. It really hates it. Like, it just doesn't know what to do with it. You say, I want more money. And it's like, great, well, we earned an extra £10 or $10 this month. We've achieved our goal, right? We need to be super specific about what we actually want. And this takes conscious effort. Like, when I have a team meeting every single week with my team, we have 3 things, but they have to be outcomes. It's like, what do we want to achieve specifically? Not just like, oh yeah, let's get this thing done. It's like, what's the outcome we want? What are we going to see? What are we going to hear? What's going to be the tangible deliverables for this thing? So you're going to get really clear on what that is. So again, if you just need to pause this podcast for a second, hit the pause button, work through it, write it down. Like, what do you specifically want? Finally, the final part of this exercise is we're going to look at, out of all of those things on the list, all of the continue doing, all of the stop doing, all of the start doing, what is the 20% of things that are most likely to get you those outcomes? If you're really honest with yourself, because I think most of us know the answer to this, sometimes those things are just the hard things. And that's why I said this takes courage. And that's why I called this podcast Creative Courage, because it might be, we need to stop hiring so quickly. We need to actually vet people a little bit more. We need to actually get rid of this team member as well, right? We need to actually fire this client. We need to stop saying yes to this kind of bread and butter work that, yeah, it pays the bills, but it's actually keeping us stuck and it's draining our team. Like, this exercise really brings to the surface the hard decisions that we've often been avoiding, and it puts them in plain English, in black and white, so that we can't avoid them anymore. And this is often where it's helpful to have some external accountability, because if it's just you, it's easy to keep saying yes to the things that you know you should be saying no to. It's easy to stay in your comfort zone. And so this is why it's helpful to have a co-founder or a coach or a consultant or somebody external to really kind of push you on these things. But I want you to just be honest with yourself, and I want you to look at that list and ask yourself, what's the 20%? So, if you've got 10 items on that list of things you want to start doing, what are the actual 2 that are going to move the needle? right? What are the things that are really going to make a difference? What are the things on that list? Do you know what? I really just need to stop this thing. Like if I just stop this one thing, it's going to make all of these other things so much easier. If I just start this one thing, it's going to make all of these other things way easier. There will be 2 to 3 things on each one of those lists, your stop, start, continue, that really are going to make the difference towards your goals. So you've now got clear goals. Write these goals down somewhere. What do we tangibly want, right? In the next 90 days, in the next quarter, whatever it is, right? What do we specifically want? And what are the things that we need to do? Stop doing, continue doing, and start doing. And you can break these down, right? So it might be like, well, we need to really start doing more outbound, or we really need to start going to more networking events, or whatever it is, right? Okay, that's very broad. Let's break that down. What does that actually look like? What are we going to commit to in the next 90 days? Is it we're going to commit to at least 2 networking events a month? Is it we're going to commit to reaching out to 2 previous clients every single week? Like, what is it we're going to commit to? And get that out on paper. Get it somewhere where you and anyone else involved in your business can see it, and hold everyone to that standard. That is the only way things really change. So that is the 90-day process that I go through with my clients to make sure that we're making the difficult decisions, that we're moving forwards, that we're growing, that we're learning from our mistakes, and that we're celebrating the things that we're doing right. As always, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, please hit the subscribe button. This is the Creative Courage Podcast, and my name is Matt Essen. I'll see you next week.